Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about digital engagement in the contact center, including how trends like the rise of ChatGPT and shifts in workforce management are affecting contact center operations. To discuss that, I'm joined by Andrea Matsuda, Manager of Product Marketing at NICE. Andrea, very good to have you with us today.
Thank you very much for having me, James. I'm happy to be here.
So the contact center has seen some huge changes in the last few years. Digital engagement has really revolutionized the contact center. What trends do you see driving these changes?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It really has revolutionized the contact center. And frankly, we were already headed in this direction, but the pandemic certainly accelerated the digital trend. In fact, NICE, in partnership with Simpler Media, conducted a digital trend survey last year. And what we found is that 46% of contact centers adopted new digital channels in the year 2022 alone, with chat being the most adapted channel, followed by social forums and community forums, which I thought was really interesting. And then after that, various different types of social media channels, which of course we're seeing more and more channels being introduced from the social media perspective almost every day, it feels like. And from a contact center perspective, that means that they have to staff for all of those channels. And it becomes very challenging when you think about how do you account for these digital channels? Are you going to have a dedicated team for having the staff, or are you going to share your resources? I've worked in contact centers where they do it both ways. We've had dedicated teams, which, frankly is more costly because you have to have more people and you have to plan in your time off and anytime that they're not working. So you have to build in that overhead. I've seen contact centers where they've blended the environment, which can be more cost efficient, but also has its own unique risks where if the phones suddenly get very busy, you may have to move your people off of chat to go answer the phones. And then suddenly the phones calm down, but now chat has a queue and you're moving your resources back. And then, now your back office or your emails are backed up and you're moving people. And you're basically playing a game of whack-a-mole all day, which can be, very inefficient from a planning perspective, but also can lead to agent fatigue and burnout. So yes, these digital channels have certainly disrupted the contact center environment.
So let's talk about workforce management. With the introduction of digital channels, how has this impacted workforce management?
It has certainly impacted workforce management quite a bit. Basically, everything that we have thought about has fundamentally changed with the introduction of digital channels. We're really calling this a paradigm shift. So traditionally, workforce management was created to handle contacts for typically synchronous interactions. So think of a phone call, whether it's an inbound or outbound phone call. It's continuous in nature. Sure, there's frequent pauses. James, you may get put on hold, for example, but you probably aren't put on hold for multiple hours or days on end, where digital channels can be very asynchronous in nature, which means there's frequent pauses. It's still a dialogue between the patron and the employee, but there's more pauses, there's interruptibility. You may get put on hold you may not hear back from your email for a few days from now. Same thing with the chat. I, as a consumer, may walk away from a chat and come back the next day or a few hours from now, and it could be a different employee I'm chatting with. So there's a lot of different complexities that digital channels have introduced. And it's been very challenging for contact centers to accurately account for this. And what we've done here at NICE is we've recognized that this is a challenge for our customers and for contact centers. And what we've done is we've introduced something that we call true to interval analytics, or TTI for short. And essentially what this is doing is we've introduced two new fields from the ACD perspective and CRM perspective into the workforce management tool. So we've introduced two new columns that are called answered and active, which means that we are now calculating the entire interaction when the activity actually occurred. So today, before TTI, everything is calculated on when a contact ended paradigm, which means if a contact comes in at 9 and finishes at 9:30, I'm calculating it at the 9:30 interval, and I'm going to get that full handle time for 3 different intervals from the 9 a.m., 9:15, 9:30, instead of the siloing the different interactions. But with true to interval analytics, I'm now calculating that, okay, at 9 a.m., I received a contact. So I've answered it now at this time. So I'm now accounting for the handle time at this interval. At the 9:15 interval, it was an active contact. So I needed one person to actively be handling it when the work was being performed. And then again, at that 9:30 interval, it concluded. So I'm associating the handle time when it concluded. So I'm showing that I needed someone during that whole interaction. And that's really powerful when you think about these asynchronous digital channels where you don't necessarily have someone answering an email for 3 days. So the email may have taken 3 days to conclude, but it wasn't actively being worked on, chances are, that whole time. So we're now calculating when it was actively being worked on. So we're changing our mindset to activity-based planning. And that's all what TTI does. It's a new concept, but it is very powerful, and it's making us more accurate with our planning.
Mhm. What about the issue of the back office and how it's been siloed from the front office? It seems like there's a desire to blend these two. What's the best approach there? Is this something that TTI Analytics can help with?
Yes, James, and that's something that we've actually hear a lot in the field too, and our hypothesis, I can't say this is factual, but what we're hearing from customers and other contact centers is that contact centers have been able to add digital channels. They've added social teams, they've added email teams to their front office operations. So they're in the contact center, and there's that thought of, well, if I'm able to handle these asynchronous channels, why can't this same logic apply to the back office, which historically has been more different from the front office than similar. But with this asynchronous nature, there is that desire to blend because they've been able to do it with digital channels. So why can't we do it for back office work streams and deferred work as well? And that is something that absolutely TTI can help with, because again, it's thinking about the activity-based planning. So we're able to deconstruct the work item into activity-based planning. And we do think that true to interval analytics is a key to helping blending this the back office and the front office work streams.
Andrea, that's a lot of good stuff. Where can people go to learn more information?
Yes, if they would like to learn more about true to interval analytics, they can go to www.nice.com/digital-WFM.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing expertise today, Andrea. A lot of good stuff. And I hope you come back and talk with us again sometime.
Thank you, James. It's been great being here.